Hi, I'm Bill Morrison, Deputy Leader of the BC Libertarian Party. Last night we did a talk at the Fountainhead Network in Port Coquitlam talking about canceling cancel culture. Check it out. Those of you that don't know me, I am Bill Morrison, aka Billy Morrison. I'm the Deputy Leader of the BC Libertarian Party. I did want to kind of bring us back a little bit and kind of discuss the topic on hand, which is cancel culture. I heard a really good phrase the other day, which was called cancer culture. It kind of ties in very well because essentially it is a bit of a cancer. It's going to grab, it's going to grow, it's going to kill its host. And what happens is that people will essentially attack something. And that's what cancer does, is it attaches itself to the body parts, and then it kills you. Where does it stop? That's the question. What it is actually an attack on capitalism. And I am a unapologetic capitalist. I believe that the number one thing that separates the whole world is capitalism. When you look at how we've succeeded as a society, what makes your life comfortable? What are the things people are striving for? What is it you want? What is it that I want? I know what I want. I want comfort. I want a nice house. I want to enjoy my life. I want to be able to go on vacations, do all these things that some people may consider to be superficial. But that's my choice. Now, if I own a business and someone decides that I've said something that's out of line, so to speak. Even having this conversation right now, everybody's on edge. Can I even talk about this right now? Can I have a conversation with somebody without worrying about my livelihood?
Yeah.
Can I?
Me over here.
Yeah, with you, but on camera. Someone might look at this 5 years down the road and say, hey, you know what? Billy Morrison said something that was out of line. I don't agree with that. He needs to be canceled. So my question to them is, what can I do? Am I allowed to continue my career that I've worked very hard at the past 25 plus years? Am I allowed to work at McDonald's? Am I allowed to climb within McDonald's? Do I start from scratch? Do I take UBI? Roberta and I were talking a little bit about this earlier. Is that the goal? What's the goal? It's to get people to conform. And what happens is now businesses are afraid of being called out, of having 25 comments on their Facebook page. So the next person that wants to patronize that business may not go there. And anybody who's ever run a business knows how difficult it is to get it off the ground. They know how difficult it is to sustain it, maintain it. As we get into the weeds, so Walter kind of touched on this a little bit, it's not easy to run a business. Why? Because everybody's got their hands in their pocket. So besides, we can go down a bit of a segue here into the weeds. We talk about taxation, we talk about the cost of living, we talk about fiat money and inflation. It's not easy. It's always going to be difficult. But these people want to cancel you. So what do? Do you fight back? Do you apologize? Well, I would disagree with apologizing. I've seen some people that have apologized and they got their hat in hand, they're begging for forgiveness for something they don't even understand. They don't know why they're asking for forgiveness. What did I do? What did I say? Oh, I said something when I was 16 years old. I am very thankful social media did not exist when I was 16 years old. Very thankful. Because I guarantee you I would be canceled. Guaranteed. And it's a dangerous precedent. And I hope that the youth that are coming up aren't concerned about the things that they say or may say or don't say or do say, have said, because that's where the danger lies. Because you're not willing to say what you think. You're not willing to say what's on your mind, regardless. We have a right to offend people. Some of you people in this room offend me all the time. Jeff, he's an offensive person. Drives me up the wall with his flags and his mannerisms. You know I'm joking. I love you, Jeff. We're talking about COVID right now. Should you wear a mask? Shouldn't you wear a mask? Are you allowed to wear a mask? Are you mandated to wear a mask? Oh, you're a mask wearer. Oh, you're anti-masker. Frankly, I think that boils down to people's personal choice. What do you choose to do? Now, if the business says to you, you can't come in here without a mask, I equate that to no shirt, no shoes, no service. That's fine. And if I don't want to wear a mask, I'm not going to patronize your business. If I am okay with wearing a mask, and I do patronize your business, that's a choice, that's an agreement, that's the contract that we've made. And what happens a lot of times is the media will ask a question. Is this person racist? Right? And no one even reads the article. They'll find out that person wasn't. They don't go dig into the weeds at all. They just kind of go, oh, man. There was something I was talking to my friend Kyle on the way here. I don't know if any of you follow sports very much, but there was a Oakland athletics coach that recently, now because of COVID, you can't shake people's hands, right? COVID is the new HIV, I guess, in that sense. So I might get canceled for that statement, but nonetheless, now you can't shake people's hands or do high fives. So therefore, what baseball players have discovered is another way of celebrating. They do the elbow thing. This gentleman, for whatever reason, his way of raising his arm made it look like he was doing a Hitler salute. One of his fellow players came up to him and said, "Don't be a dummy. What are you doing?" And he corrected him. And the player said, "Oh, I'm such a dumbass. I didn't even realize I was doing that." So what's the answer to that? A whole pile of people aren't even baseball fans decided he shouldn't have a job anymore. He shouldn't even be a coach for the Major League Baseball League. So my question to them is, well, what can he do now? I mean, he can't. Is he supposed to go and coach Little League? Oh, you don't want an anti-Semite coaching Little League, right? Is he supposed to go and get a job working for a minimum wage? Is that okay? Is that acceptable? Do we have some sort of guideline as what it means to be canceled? Can I ask you a question here? Who do you think has been successful at rejecting cancel culture?
Donald Trump.
Okay, well, that's a good answer. I would actually pose a couple other people that would even be a little bit, maybe not so much noticeable. Maybe Joe Rogan, famous podcaster.
Alex Jones.
Yes. Ricky Gervais.
There's a lot of people, but the point is
so where I'm going with it is this, is that what they do is they ignore.
Ignore what?
Ignore the folks that are trying to cancel them.
Yeah.
Don't read the comments. Don't engage.
Well, Ricky Gervais does.
No, he tells them to go.
All these people.
He doesn't apologize. He doesn't. He keeps going forward.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the danger. Is they apologize. What happens is people put forth this press release.
Apologizing.
Never apologize.
People who apologize
Especially if
are
you're
people with
principled.
a job. It's one thing for Ricky Gervais, who's worth 40, 50 million, or Joe Rogan, who's the most listened to podcast. But some ordinary person working at a university.
Right. So I'm gonna bring it back.
Okay, even the UBC guy had to resign because he liked a Trump tweet.
Right, I know, and you're absolutely right, and that's the point. So in terms of, I think it's very good for us to have this conversation and help educate people, is what's the path that you need to go down. The idea that you can be fired for something that you said when you're 16 is absurd.
Right.
Can we win people over on that idea? One of the things us as libertarians, what we fight with, because we're statists, right, Roberta?
Absolutely.
Because we're making the fight and we're trying to get elected, which is a bit of a conundrum because of our beliefs. But how can you win those small battles? The small battles are what really matters. As an individual, you need to be able to stand up for yourself. You need to be able to go to your bosses or your employer and fight for your job. But we're concerned about what you said on Twitter when you were 16 years old. But we're not concerned about the realities of being able to start a business and maintain that business. And this is where I go back. I am a staunch capitalist. I believe that that is the way of the future. That is the way people can make something for themselves. That is the way that you can carve your own part of the world out. We talk about people in other countries. You know what would be great is if you lived in Africa and you could make your own lip balm. Well, they don't get that right. They don't have that luxury. And that's the slippery slope we're going down. The mask debate is going to be another form of divide and conquer. I say have at it. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask, I don't care. I'm not going to sit there and debate all day long when I have to sit there and look at little kids being ticketed for selling lemonade. Not my fight. I'm sorry. And that may upset some people. But we are so far down that road that we need to start pushing back on things that are going to make sense to the average person. If you share that story to somebody, hey, why can't you start a business? Have you ever started a business? Extremely difficult. Sure, you can attest to this, Mark.
Hey, let me tell you, I'm just applying to get a retail manager's cannabis license. Just a license to work in someone else's business.
Yes.
It's taken me 6 weeks, 138 written questions and answers, 4 years of tax returns, 4 years of tax assessments, my MasterCard statement for the last year, my bank records for the last 3 years, my entire criminal record, which is voluminous. And so it's so far been 6 weeks of back and forth answering questions just to get the license to apply for a job. It doesn't get me a job.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm probably the leading expert in this country on how to run a shop.
Yeah.
And I have to grovel.
Now, think about the poor guy that just decides, hey, I'd like to get into that business. And that, never mind all the taxation and the permits and so on and so forth, and get a building, get a place to do your business, where they're going to have their hands in your pocket the whole time.
And making everybody wear a mask to go in.
And make everybody wear a mask, of course, right? Which is not your choice, and then not even your patron's
Well, presumably,
choice.
because I am opening a shop up in my hometown of London, Ontario, I will have to wear a mask to comply with it.
Right.
And the thing is, a
Well,
guy
Ontario.
like me, if I break the law, is much more punished than an ordinary person, because if I show a willingness to break the law, it means I can't be trusted with these licenses.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So it even conforms my behavior.
Bringing it you cancel culture is you almost have to censor yourself, right? Because you're wondering, oh well, what do I have to say to get this permit?
Right. I can't advocate for anything around the world that might be illegal, which is everything. Even what I advocate for in Canada is correcting the current deficiencies in the law. In other words, the law sucks. Here's how we need to change it.
Right.
A lot of that would involve disobeying it.
And I think that's so important that we figure out a way to articulate those messages. Because, like you say, it's the law, right? The law. We can look at history, which people seem to have a hard time doing. There's a lot of things that were legal, right? Walter touched on slavery. It's not a great topic, but at one time slavery was legal, right? It still is in some parts of the world. You can buy a slave today on this globe.
It's more expensive this month than it was last month.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you following the market?
Watching the market?
All kidding aside, I just really...
A little ticker tape from Tripoli.
Right.
Slave prices today.
And again, I just saying that, making a little joke. Going back to the comedians, right? You're making a little joke and people could be offended by that. That can cause me my livelihood.
Well, between COVID and the recent lawsuits against comedians, it's kind of killed comedy in Canada. Because there were 3 people that were taken to court and lost in Canada
Yes.
over comedy, and one was ordered to pay $45,000.
And comedy is one of my favorite genres because I'm so serious all the time that it's one of my outlets. I think they are extremely strong. A lot of the comedians that are willing to fight back because they are willing to put themselves on the line, literally. That is their livelihood. That's what they do for a living. They stand up and they tell jokes, they make people laugh. They have to push the limit.
And they're all illegal now, so they're all doing underground things, and cops come to threaten
Well,
people with
and,
their mics.
yeah, I think Victor talked about it earlier, and he was saying this is all long time coming stuff. This is not anything that's new. We didn't wake up yesterday and see a lot of the pushbacks and the things that have been happening. You can look at the history, and you can see that people were pushing back, and people were censoring themselves. Now they're almost forcing the censoring, right? So if you go to other parts of the world, people have been in prison because of saying a joke. Imagine that, right?
Lenny Bruce.
Yes.
Count
Yeah.
Dankula.
What's that? Count Dankula, even Dave Chappelle's comedy special. They were trying to pull it. They ruined his livelihood. One of the best comedians ever, in my opinion. Brett Weinstein. Hey, everybody familiar with Brett Weinstein?
Left-wing commentator.
Yeah, and well, he was actually a professor at Evergreen College.
I subscribe to him, sure.
And you know, and do you agree with everything he says? Maybe not, but he was attacked, lost his job. It's pretty ridiculous when you think about it. The fact that and this is the whole thing. This was the caveat for it all. There was a note that went around that they wanted to segregate schools for one day, and no white students could attend class that day. But they wanted to force it. He wanted to make it voluntary. Hey, absolutely, advocate for this idea. If you think this is a good idea, but every student that participates needs to do it on a voluntary basis. He was attacked. They started riots. It was ridiculous when you think about it. And he lost his job. Cancer culture at its finest. Now, he never apologized. He always stuck to his principles. He always said, this is what I believe in. And he's actually benefited from it. I think he's done better now because the average person hears a story like that. And they say, this is ridiculous. I couldn't imagine something like that. So it's so important that we don't get caught up in what the mob says. Events like this are fantastic because we're all people having conversations. And I absolutely encourage anybody to come up to me and talk to me afterwards and have conversations. The shouting back and forth on Facebook got to me to a point where I wasn't winning hearts and minds. When I talk to people in person, they say, I'll vote for you any day of the week. And I'm sure they wouldn't necessarily agree with every aspect of my politics, but they know me as a person. Online, I'm just a little blurb, and I'm saying words. So I encourage anybody that's interested in getting out of that environment, because I do not think it's a good tool. There's a lot of people that feel that they can change people's minds, and absolutely, have at her, fight that fight. I encourage it, but the reality is the one-on-one, the individual conversations, your day-to-days, the conversations you're having with your coworkers, your friends, your families. Those are the things that are going to change people's minds. And ask them how they would feel if they were ever in a situation where their livelihood was threatened. You imagine losing your job over something you said when you were a teenager?
Just wondering, in the free market, as a free market advocate, well, one of the questions that's asked is how do you control bad players in the free market? And one of those ways is boycott and the reputation system. So how do you differentiate that from cancel culture? Because some people look at that as, oh, boycott, but that's not what it is. So
Right. That's a good question. I think that's a fine line between the two. I think the main difference is boycott's a personal choice. Mm-hmm. Boycott is you saying, I am not going to partake in spend my money there. Cancel culture is a group of people saying, we need to shut down your business. And you are not allowed to operate anymore.
And they use slanderous.
Yes.
So it's
I can give you a good example here in Vancouver. I was talking to my friend Milton the other day about this. And this your opinion is your opinion on the matter. But there is a cafe, it's called Matchstick. It's located in Vancouver. They have five different cafes here. I've never partaked there. I've never even heard of them. That's not where I buy my coffee. And you're a big coffee person, right, Roberta? So what's happened is it came out that the owner of this company apparently was a shitty boss, in a nutshell. He was misogynistic and all the things, all the buzzwords, right? So he apologized. Then he divested all his shares, wherever they went, so be it. What the cancel culture folks did then is they said, well, that's not enough. We want to know where you divested your shares. Are you giving them to the employees that you treated so horribly? And one of the things that I find comical is anybody that has traveled around the Lower Mainland in Vancouver, there are no shortages of cafes in this city. There's an abundance of them. So why would anybody in their right mind work for an employer that treats them like shit? Especially in that genre. It's not, I could respect the idea. My friend Kyle, he's an audio video guy, and it's a little bit more of a specialty. So you have to try to find somewhere to hire you and
There's
grow.
fewer employers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Versus a cafe,
Tim Hortons.
you can throw a stone.
Yeah.
Right? So what's happened is now people are not only asking this gentleman to give up all of his shares, but are telling him where he can put his shares.
Very anti-capitalist.
Very
Seizing
anti-capitalist.
control. That's
And also, those folks, and truth be told, have never started a business. They've never gone through the trials and tribulations of scouting a location, finding a location, making it look beautiful, right? Providing a good product and service, hiring people. Hiring people that are the face of your company. That's a difficult thing to do. It's difficult to have people represent you. And what happens is now companies are so on edge about alienating one person that they can't even be themselves. They're so concerned about alienating that one person because of whatever reason. And they don't even know. I share like an actual personal story. I had a one-star review for one of my stores where they were upset that company, that store made too much noise. And they lived nearby. So they left a one-star review. And the problem is what happens is people go on Google and they want to use the word of mouth. Word of mouth is one of the greatest forms of advertising in the world, right? I went to Mark's store, it was fantastic. You gotta go there. You gotta check out the Fountainhead Foundation. It's a great place, you gotta go there. So what happens is now people will go online, and it's such a small community, and they see a couple of one-star reviews for whatever reason. And it's exactly the same thing. It's people wanting to get on their soapbox, shout down a company, shout down whatever it is that you do, and whatever it is you did to piss them off. I remember my first one-star review. I couldn't sleep for 2 days. It drove me up the wall. We're talking about getting agitated. I wanted to confront the person because of the things they said about myself and my company. I went to my IT guy. I said, "We got to get this off. We got to pull this down and figure out a way to fight this." And he's like, "Don't worry about it. Worry about the 5-star reviews." So that's another thing. Good ideas don't require force, right? Get the 5-star reviews. Don't worry about the 1 stars. They're not the norm. They're the louder voices in the room. They are. But you need to get those people that are part of your team to be part of that voice. That's why we're here today. We're part of that voice. I really do believe that we are on the right side when it comes to the culture wars. The average person I talk to Doesn't talk about this ridiculous canceling of people. Most of the people I talk to are normal, everyday folks. They just want to eat. They want to go on vacation. That's the reality of it. Think of your own lives. What do you want to do? Those folks that are out there shouting down other people, companies, political figures, whoever it is, the truth is they live pretty sad, isolated lives. That's the truth. They're lonely. They probably need a hug. The term fighting fire with fire makes sense, but fires burn out. You want to make sure that you're fighting with a good message. You're fighting with a continual idea. I don't think our ideas have changed. Your trip to New York in the 80s, Victor, which enlightened you, right?
A weird thing. It turned out into thinking sparks, yeah.
New York's a great city. I was there in December, and I think I caught COVID. All kidding aside, I had a bad cough for a couple of weeks after I visited New York, and maybe it was just the pollution. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting how we've gone down our own roads, right? And for you, that was that trip. I'm sure everybody has their own story. I remember being younger and idealistic. I'm still idealistic. I'm a little bit more of a realist. And that's where my position is in all of this. So that being said, I hand it back to you, Victor.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Thanks for